everybody, and welcome back to Crochet College, or if this is your first time, welcome. My name is Mia, and in today's video we are going to be looking deeply into this Wool and the Gang Billie Jean yarn. This yarn is really exciting because it is a 100% upcycled yarn. Right here on its label it says that it's made with 20% upcycled denim and 80% upcycled cotton. I'm not sure if there's a difference between upcycled and recycled in the Wool and the Gang terminology, but either way, it's a yarn that I'm excited to try. This yarn is a part of a bigger purchase that I made from Wool and the Gang. It was my first time ordering from them, and I did an entire unboxing video. If you'd like to check that one out too, there's a link in the description box down below. One thing that I'm noticing about Wool and the Gang is a lot of their yarns are geared towards knitters. They don't really have the crochet hook size gauge or recommendation on their label, which I find interesting because most companies tend to do both, but on their website they seem to be more of a knitter's website. This yarn is made in Guatemala, and if we take off the label we'll be able to see the wash instructions. So on the label here, it recommends that you cold wash under 30 degrees, do not machine wash, do not tumble dry, wash by hand, do not iron, and lay flat to dry. That's pretty typical for a cotton yarn. I see that a lot. Usually it's because cotton tends to swell when it gets wet and then shrink as you wash it and dry it. So that might be the reason for the recommendation. This yarn feels a lot softer than I was expecting it to. My only other experience with a recycled, or as they're saying, upcycled cotton yarn is the Lion brand's Re-Up yarn. I did a review on that one as well, so I'll link it down below, but that one is very rough and dry, where this one, it does have a slight roughness to it, but in a different way. It feels almost like how a pair of jeans feel after you've worn them for a few years. They don't have that stiff feeling anymore. They feel washed. They feel cozy. So although it is still a little bit dry, it still has a softness and a comfort to it that the Re-Up yarn is lacking. So I am a center puller, so I find yarns that come in balls like this can be difficult to be center pullers with, but so far the Wool and the Gang yarn that I purchased in this pack has been pretty good, at least with being able to find that center pull. Now the label does not recommend a hook size, but they do recommend a 5mm knitting needle. For this yarn, honestly, a 4.5 or a 5mm hook would probably be okay because it's not super thin, but it's also not the thickest cotton I've ever been around. It's very similar to the weight of Hobby Lobby's I Love This cotton yarn. It just doesn't have that same softness to it. For those reasons, I'm going to go on in with a 3.5mm crochet hook. I know that I like a really tight stitch, and when I go to use this yarn to make something, it's going to be a smaller hook size that I use. Okay, so I've worked up a 4" by 4" little swatch of the Billie Jean yarn, and for me, working with a 3.5mm crochet hook, it took me 15 stitches and 17 rows of single crochet. But like I said, I really like the look of a tight knit thing, so I used a hook size that is smaller than you need. I think a 4.5 or a 5mm crochet hook would be perfect to create a really drapey fabric. That said, now that I've worked up this yarn, I feel it's very similar to Lily's Sugar and Cream. It's got a slightly rough texture that I don't necessarily want near my skin all day long, so I don't know that I'll make a wearable out of it. It's not as rough, but it's not much better. It definitely doesn't feel like the softest yarn I've ever felt, and it's got a slight scrubby quality to it. For those reasons, I'm probably going to use this yarn to make something like a pot holder or a washcloth, because it is a little scrubby, and using it as a washcloth, you can achieve that scrubbiness that you're looking for, where a soft cotton does not fare well in those situations. So overall, since the pack has 148 yards in it, I'm pretty happy with this purchase. It's got a decent amount of yarn in it that I think is going to go a pretty far way. And I do like the yarn. I love that it's upcycled or recycled, either one. I think they're being used interchangeably here. So because of my experience with it, the fact that I think it has some good practical use, it could be used for a wearable, just not for me. I think I'm going to give this yarn a 6 out of 10. The only points that I'm kind of dinging it for is it does have that dry quality that while I'm working with it, it feels like it's going to chap my hands a little bit. But I do think this yarn still has a place in the craft room. It's just not going to be my go-to cotton. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you'll be one of the first to know when I come out with a new video, tutorial, or pattern. As always, thank you guys for crocheting with me, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.